I got you.
All right, creatures of the night, and everybody out there in the PSK, the Pod Street crew out there. My name is Alex Doriot. I am one half of the Talking Taker podcast. I want to thank you for joining us for yet another round of Digging Up the Dead Man here on the Talking Taker YouTube channel. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Something I'm not sure if I've ever seen. I'm not sure. I'm not saying I invented it. I'm sure other people have been doing it, but I don't see a lot of it out there. We do a lot of unboxing videos here on the YouTube channel. I buy new figures or classic figures, open them up, and take a look at them, put them there on the Talking Taker collection shelf. Today, I'm going to be doing a reboxing of some classic Undertaker figures. So what I've got here is my original box for the WWF Jakks Special Edition Buried Alive. Oh, better not move it. I don't want the figs to fall over. But this is the original box set that the Buried Alive collection came in when I got it. I was trying to remember exactly when I got it. The match itself that it's celebrating, the Buried Alive match between The Undertaker and Mankind, featuring Paul Bearer and the infamous Executioner. That was in October of 1996. And the package on here says the figures came out in 1997, which makes sense. I'm thinking maybe I got it Christmas of 97. That makes sense. You know, that's probably when I would have got a big gift like this. But gosh, that just seems so far away from when the match took place. I'm wondering if I got it at all any sooner. But that's probably how long it took for them to get these figures out. But anyway, was in my parents' attic a while back, and turns out for some reason, me or my mom, we had saved the original box that these figures came in, which is not something I normally did, but I had this box, and I grabbed it. Instead of throwing it away, I decided to take it home because I knew I had all the original figures and the accessories that come with it. So we'll get to that in just a second here. And I thought that would be kind of fun to take the original figures, put them back in the original box, and display these figures on my in my collection on my shelf the way they originally came. Now, I have no intentions of selling this. I don't think I'm making it any more valuable by doing this because, like I said, I've got the original figures here, and you can see from the Executioner, I played with these figures. I played the crap out of them, especially this guy, which sounds ridiculous because this is a character that only lasted for barely a month on WWF television. I guess 2 months. Technically, he lasted on WWF television and certainly did not get over. But this Executioner figure in my Fig Fed was very over, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But I just thought it'd be cool to take my original figures and rebox them. And I thought it'd be fun to do here on the YouTube channel as well. And as I typically do here on the YouTube channel, I'm sure I'm going to knock this stuff over a whole bunch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each figure and each accessory, share a little memory about it, kind of review them as I put them back in the box instead of unboxing it. And then we'll put it all together, take a look at it as the complete box set, and put them back in its home for where they haven't been for 26 years now, and see how it looks. But man, these box sets that Jakks put out, there's a handful of them. They were really cool. I think they were all pretty much in 97 or 98, and I had a couple of them. I had the King of the Iron Rungs set that had Stone Cold Steve Austin and Ahmed Johnson and Bret Hart, and it had the referee figure and the ladder, the first ever ladder accessory, which is, you know, I got it for that and for the Stone Cold Steve Austin mainly. Those were the two selling points for that one. I know they had like a best of 97. They had a Survivor Series set that had the Ultimate Warrior in it. There was one set that had Yokozuna in it. But man, this was a great way. They weren't that expensive, you know, relatively. I wish Mattel did more of this. They've kind of started to. They did a little bit a few years ago, and now they're starting to trickle out a few other ones. I know they did a Lesnar and Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns set a little while ago. So very fun stuff, and I love that they put exclusives in here like the Executioner. But yeah, let me just talk about each figure here as we go along. Who should we start with? Let's start with Mankind here. Another one that was a must-have for your figure collection. This character was so over. He was so unique. And he had been released a few times, but this was certainly his first figure. He was released a number of ways. You get him in a number of ways. And you can see, Mankind was a hardcore wrestler. He was known for taking big bumps and taking big beatings, and his figure was the same way for me. You can see all that paint worn off on there. But a few of my favorite things about this figure, number one, you can't really see it. I don't think it'll show up on the video, but his hair was molded on there on the arm. So there's a little bit of texture and molding of his hair on the arm. It's still rubber, it's not real hair, but that was so unique and so different. And I loved the hand molding on here for Mankind. Look at that. They've got the fingers molded together in that mandible claw. So you could actually do the mandible claw on people. So like the Executioner, he's got his mouth open there. You can take Mankind and you can literally stick his fingers in the Executioner's mouth to do the mandible claw. I mean, that's freaking awesome. Figures have come a long way since the days of the Hasbros. So the Mankind was good. I always, he's got that... his symbol, whatever that Mankind symbol, it's there on the back, and it's raised up and textured. So a lot of attention to detail. Same with his boots as well. You can see that on there. Really awesome figure. I think it went into the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Hall of Fame this past year, maybe a couple years ago. My only issues are, I do have a couple issues with it. Elbow pads. I don't really recall Mankind ever wearing elbow pads. I could be wrong, but I mean, even in any of his gimmicks, I don't remember him ever wearing elbow pads. So that's a little weird, little misstep for this figure. And then in my opinion, I always thought this Mankind was too skinny, too small. Like, I know Mick Foley was probably in the best shape of his life in 1996, so he wasn't as heavy as he got later on in the years, but I still always felt like this figure was a little bit too small, and that's sort of a major problem I had with another figure in this set as well. I'll talk about in just a second, but still really cool, really awesome, really unique figure. Love that his hair is a little bit different there on both sides, because we always know Mankind was tearing his hair out of his head like that. But we'll put him here in the box. Let's see if I can recall where he goes in the box. Or should we do that all at the end? Maybe we'll do it all at the end. We'll put them all there in the end. Let me just review them all first. All right, Mick, you hang out right there. Let's take a look at Paul Bearer next. I was so excited to get a Paul Bearer figure. He's a guy, it's a shame he never got a Hasbro. He absolutely should have had a Hasbro. But look at that face. You got it's cartoony, but it worked. Paul Bearer was a cartoony character. So look at the gray in his eyes, that signature Paul Bearer, whatever you call that snarl on his face, the mustache, the pocket square. And he's got the gut, he's got the belly. You know, he's shorter, certainly, maybe a little bit too short, but, you know, he was definitely shorter than Mankind and Taker. But, you know, obviously not a bone cruncher like, you know, all the other manager figures, but he's got the point, and he's got the hand to hold the urn, although, the urn fall, here it is. My issue with this one, Jakks, of course, never perfect. They had always had the right idea, but never perfect. Paul Bearer can't really hold the urn, you see? If you rest it there, no, not even if you rest it there. And that's a bummer. If you're going to have a Paul Bearer figure, to have it come with the urn, and clearly the hand is molded like it's supposed to fit the urn. Basically, you could, like, rest it on his fingers here, like he's pulling a Mankind. Got his two fingers jammed in the urn, or you could kind of rest it there in his elbow. But that was the major disappointment with this Paul Bearer figure. But still, really cool. Great to have him on the outside of the ring. You could just kind of rest the urn on the ring apron. But just a bummer that you couldn't actually fit the urn in there. I remember before I had a Paul Bearer figure, I would always use a Uncle Fester from the Addams Family cartoon action figure to represent Paul Bearer in my fig fed. You had to get creative back in the day. You didn't have a lot of options, but you had to get creative. Up next, we have the dead man himself, The Undertaker, here. And it's real interesting because this match, this box set, obviously it represents the Buried Alive match from October of 1996. But this Undertaker figure that comes in the set, this is representing Survivor Series 1996, the very next month. Because Buried Alive and the picture represents Undertaker from that Survivor Series 96 as well. Try to swing it in there. Yep, you can see it there on the corner. But in the Buried Alive match, The Undertaker is wearing the purple outfit. Purple gloves, purple stirrups, and all that is his final appearance in the purple outfit. He gets buried in it, and when he gets resurrected at Survivor Series the next month, he comes out, Travis called it the Leather Daddy outfit or the leather pirate outfit. Has all sorts of different funky names. It was a short-lived attire for Taker. Not one of his best looks, but still cool, still different, still unique. He comes down from the rafters, and I think that's what this cape is supposed to represent. He's got sort of like a bat wings that he comes down from the rafters at Survivor Series 96 in, and again is all leather, no more gloves. And this is Jakks' best attempt at that. There's a lot of things wrong with it. Again, it's a great effort, and it's cool, and you get what they're trying for. But like I said, Undertaker, he wasn't wearing a cape. He really didn't wear a cape until really Ministry of Darkness. He wasn't really wearing a cape at any time, and certainly not even one like this. But they're trying to do their best to represent those bat wings. So he's got that. He's got the little gauntlets on his wrist, so good job with that. They pretty much matched that pretty well. And then he's got these weird things on his shoulders. He's got little shoulder pads. They're not really sleeves, but they're sort of things on his shoulders, which he didn't really have in this outfit. It was sleeveless from what I can recall. So not the best representation of that. It's got a different likeness on there. It's a little bit different than what he had for the original Bone Cruncher, and he's got the whatever you call it, the tattoo there on his teardrop tattoo on his face. So a good effort, but much like the Mankind, in my opinion, this figure is way too small for the Undertaker. I mean, he looks like a cruiserweight. He doesn't have that bulk or that girth. The next Bone Cruncher of Undertaker is my favorite Bone Cruncher of Undertaker, when it's actually got the tattoos on his arms, and it's more of like the 1998 Undertaker. That's the one that I think that got the Undertaker's size. I mean, he's over 300 pounds. He's 6'10" and a half. This figure does not look like he's 300 pounds, 6'10" and a half at all. But still, it was cool to get a little bit different version of the Undertaker. First one not in the gloves and the 90 through 96 attire here. But decent. And again, it was just cool to get 4 figures in a set, to add 4 awesome characters and figures to your fig fed. So it didn't even matter if they weren't perfect. But my favorite of the lot, maybe I'm the only one who thinks this, was this guy, the Executioner. Terry Gordy, in his short-lived gimmick, came in, helped Mankind bury the Undertaker alive. He was Mankind and Paul Bearer's sidekick for a couple months. Faced the Undertaker in the infamous It's Time pay-per-view in the Armageddon Rules match, which is another one of those Undertaker matches that gets advertised and you don't know what the rules are, and then you get to it and, oh, okay, it's false count anywhere. No DQ, no count up. Just like everything else. They did that with the Rest in Peace match and the Final Curtain match with Goldust. Did it a few different times. And boy, Terry Gordy was a barn burner back in World Class Wrestling and in WCW with the Freebirds and teaming with Dr. Death. But he had suffered some drug problems and some health problems by the time he got to the WWF in 1996. Yeah, he was a shell of himself, quite literally. He could barely move, could barely get around, has an awful match with The Undertaker. The only highlight of it is they fight into the river outside the arena, and then they come back in the ring. Undertaker gives the Executioner a tombstone, and as he's holding Executioner up in the tombstone position, there's water literally dripping from the Executioner's boots as he's hanging upside down. Pretty funny moment there. But I love this figure, and I love the Executioner because there wasn't a lot of character to him. There wasn't a lot of history to him. So when I put him in my Fig Fed, I could just let my imagination run wild, and I could make the Executioner whatever I wanted to make him. So I kind of made him sort of like a Terry Funk or a Chainsaw Charlie type character. I made him a hardcore champion. He fought in the hardcore division, and he was like middle-aged and crazy Terry Funk. He would do moonsaults. He would put people through tables. He would do crazy dives off the ring or off my TV stand. I remember one time he drove the Ghostbusters ambulance, which I've got over there. I can't reach it, but he drove the Ghostbusters ambulance, or the Ghostbusters car, into the arena, drove it into the ring, got up on top of it, dove on top of it into the ring. Executioner was a top guy in my Fig Fed. I loved using him. He did like a Stevie Ray slapjack, which was the pedigree, except he pulled him all the way up and then landed on top of him. That was my finisher for him. I don't know why. That's just how my brain went. And I always put the cape that was meant for the Undertaker and comes packaged with the Undertaker, I put it on Executioner because the Executioner actually wore a cape. It made so much more sense for the Executioner to have the cape than the Undertaker. I don't know why it was packaged on Undertaker. It should have been packaged on Executioner. So I always put him in the cape. But when I put him back in the box, I will put the cape officially on Undertaker as it was meant to be. Lastly, this came with accessories, which was an awesome thing that Jakks did that Mattel does not do enough of. Jakks overdid it, and we're all often put horrible, meaningless, stupid accessories with figures, but at least they gave you stuff, and which was important really for the Attitude Era in the 2000s, because there was always hardcore matches, always weapons being used. Of course, we had the urn with Paul Bearer. Again, this was the first time you could get the urn, even if it didn't fit in his hand. An essential accessory. You had to have him come with that. Came with a tombstone, which was fun. The generic RIP tombstone. Maybe it would have been cooler if it was like the actual buried alive headstone they used back then. That was such a great prop that they took from arena to arena. It actually had the etching of Mankind and Undertaker on there. That would have been neat if they ever did that. If Mattel ever wants to recreate that, that would be a really fun accessory to have. The Executioner's axe here, my goodness. I can't believe a kid's toy came with this accessory. Although kids' toys came with all sorts of guns and crazy accessories, but something you probably wouldn't see nowadays. Executioner coming with his axe. And in my opinion, the funniest, worst part of this set is this shovel. Now, Jakks released some other shovels that were so much better than this, but with this Buried Alive set, you got the dinkiest little shovel. Even as a toy, it looks like a child's toy. It looks like something you play in the sandbox with, or play at the beach with your kids. I mean, look at Undertaker holding this shovel. Even proportionally with the figure, this looks like something he's going to go out in the garden with and dig up some tomatoes or something like that. What is this supposed to be? It took forever for the Undertaker to get buried alive at this pay-per-view, but imagine if the wrestlers were using these tiny little garden shovels or these sand pail shovels to bury him. It would have taken 3 hours to get him in there. Come on. This is, even as a 11-year-old kid, I thought this was a pretty dumb toy, pretty dumb accessory. Everything in here is too small. I've said it before. So, let's try to put them back in the box. All right. Here is the packaging. It's even got the protective sleeve. You slide up over there. So, let's see. Executioner is going to go right here on my left, right here. Get him back there. And then you've got the headstone. It's going to go there. I'll probably need to tape these down. I'm not sure if they were originally taped, but might need to put a little, yeah, you can see even there's a little bit of tape on there. Might need to redo that so they actually sit in there and stay in there. So the headstone, the axe, Taker, I think, is next. So we'll need to put his cape back on him. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, folks. So leave them in the comments. Did you have this set? I still think it's one of the coolest things Jakks ever put out their entire time. but even with the flaws, did you think it was flawed? Did you think there were issues with it? Let me know in the comments as well. Did you make up a brand new character for the Executioner in your Fig Fed back in the day? Okay, Mankind goes next. And I'll probably just, I'll need to shut the camera off and fix these a little bit, but just give you the idea here. Paul Bearer goes right there. Shovel and, okay, there's the urn. Shovel goes right there. And the urn. Okay, so there they are, back in their home where they originally were 21 years ago. How cool is that? Plastic goes on top. And then, let me fix these real quick. I'm going to tape them in before we finish up and put them in the box. All right. Got everybody jammed back in there the way they're meant to be. Gonna tape up the plastic here as it originally would have been. Keep these guys a little bit more secure. And I do think I'm actually gonna leave it on the shelf like this, at least for a little while. Again, let me know what you guys think about this. I don't know that I could do it again because I don't think I have any more classic boxes sitting at home. I don't think I have the King of the Iron Rungs box set sitting at home anymore, so don't know that I could ever do one of these again. But did you enjoy this? Do you think this is sacrilegious? Do you think this is blasphemy to be putting the figures back in the box? Like I said, I would never consider selling it like this. I'm not going to pretend like it's mint on card, but you know, it is restored in a sense. It is put back together the way it's supposed to be. Uh-oh, the axe is coming loose. Here comes the axe. Here comes the smasher. Let's see how it looks. Going back in the box for the first time in 21 years. There it goes. The box itself, of course, has seen better days. It's been sitting in the attic, but relatively good shape. There it is. A mint, wink wink, on card, special edition Jakks Buried Alive, put back together, reboxed here on the channel. There's the sides of it. There's the back of it there. You can see the other figures that were coming out around that time. How about those mini figures? I definitely had some of those. Still got some of them on the shelf. That microphone, I always wanted that. Never saw that in the store. Definitely asked for it, but never had it. Let's see if we can read this. World Wrestling Federation's first ever Buried Alive match at October's in your house on aggressive new dimension to the bitter feud between Undertaker and Mankind. In order to claim the victory, one superstar had to completely cover his opponent under almost a ton. Are you serious? A ton of dirt. 2,000 pounds of dirt. Did Vince McMahon write this? In a makeshift gravesite. The risk of suffocation or a much worse fate. Is there a worse fate than suffocation? Because I think that would lead to death. Was an enormous danger to both. And although the man from the dark side faced the final barrier that night due to the interference of the mysterious executioner, something not of this world delivered the Undertaker back from the dead. Saw that hand rising up. Terrible. Actually, a great match. Horrible segment at the end that took forever to bury him. Great visual with Undertaker's glove coming out at the end. I thought as a kid I didn't really like it because I thought it was a little bit too ridiculous. A Buried Alive match. I knew, okay, no one's actually going to die from this. This is kind of silly. It's kind of stupid. For some reason, I could get on board with a casket match, but I just couldn't get on board with a Buried Alive match. That sounded too ridiculous to me. But watching it back, which we did for the podcast, which I will throw the link to our original coverage of the Buried Alive match up here, it is a great match. It is like, of course, Mick Foley and Undertaker always had good matches, but it's like a prototype to the hardcore matches that we would see in a couple of years. Mick takes some crazy bumps in it, and there's some really fun stuff when you go back and watch that match. It's worth rewatching if you haven't done so in a long time. But here it is, the Buried Alive Special Edition. Actually, you can see right there, right next to the Raw letters, that Raw 3-pack that Mattel put out. Again, an awesome box set that they put out. I'm going to put this special edition right there in that empty space right there. So that's where it's going to live. And let me know what you think. Check out our other videos here. Make sure you are subscribed to the Talking Taker channel here on YouTube. And be sure to check out our latest editions of Talking Taker, the full video versions or the podcast itself. Make sure you check out our TeePublic store to get a Pod Street Crew t-shirt. And let me know what you think of this one. Leave a comment, subscribe, and as always, take her easy.